Hey everybody, my name's Davey Autobee, and if I hated you, you would know. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9. Today on the show, I'll be talking a little bit more about Descript and kind of my experience with using it last week. I haven't really dug too much into the company itself, but I'll get onto that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some research I've been doing into the Bicentennial versus the 250th that's happening right now. And then I'm going to talk about the curiosity gap, something that I also have been experiencing at work. And then after that is an interview with... Bump that mic, I thought it was my drink. After that is an interview with a guy named Davey Autobee. I think you guys will really enjoy it. We talk about mental health, we talk about media, we talk about spirituality. Like it's a really cool conversation. And the first time I've ever gotten the chance to use this particular interview idea to its fullest extent with somebody that was a stranger. So, yeah. Other than that, I found my old mic, which is a better mic, so hopefully this sounds a little bit better too. Yeah. So, last week I used the Descript AI. Some things about it were easier. Some things about it were more frustrating. I'm going to use it again this week for this portion of the video, but not for the portion with the interview that I do with Davey. A big part of that is I think even with like small edits, like changing an interview fundamentally, like while I understand for clarity's sake and things like that, you know, being able to cut pauses and those sorts of things can be really helpful. I think it takes away from like the real feeling of the interview. And honestly, I kind of felt that way about last week's episode just in general. That the getting rid of the excess words and the big pauses and things like that kind of took away, for me, some of how I feel, the things that I feel good about with this zine. Show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, my video zine. So I'm going to put the lid on that so that if I do knock it over, it doesn't spill anywhere. Past that, Descript as a program felt less intuitive than I was anticipating. Aside from like the studio sound and the click to remove extraneous words, and then like kind of the way you can use editing to like text editing to create like video changes. I might try it a little bit, probably not permanently, but with like kind of transposing like one clip to another using the text editing feature, which that I think is probably the most interesting aspect of Descript that I've been really I wouldn't even say enjoying, but that I engaged with the most. In general, I don't know that I'm the biggest fan of doing it. And like, while, the Video Studio Pro that I use is less intuitive and less like capable of doing a lot of the AI stuff, like I'm not fully sold. I also hate that it's a subscription service, right? I paid, like I've purchased the same software for, or the same brand software, like I want to say 3 times over the last like probably 8 to 10 years, right? Like as it's come out with upgrades that were beyond the scope of just patching. And that's a lot less money, like in general, than just like a year of subscribing to Descript. So there's that. I'm not a big fan. You know, I like physical media, right? And I've talked about that at length. But the idea of purchasing a product that you then just have access to, even at a digital level, seems kind of meh, right? So like things like Audible and stuff like that, where you purchase it and you own it, but like at any moment it could just disappear. Like if, Audible loses the rights to be able to host the book or whatever. Same goes with Descript, right? Same goes with pretty much anything that you're not like actively putting right onto your computer that you can use at any time, or that has to like log into a server. See it a lot in video games, where like a video game can become unusable if it needs to be connected to a server, and then those servers go down, because of inaction or whatever. So just that in general is kind of like this fuzzy kind of shitty gray area. And I haven't even touched on any of the like business aspects of it. Like I've read a few articles here and there, which are a little skeevy. And then on top of it, I haven't touched on any of the like economic or like environmental stuff, aside from like my cursory knowledge. So like in general, like as I'm doing my, second out of like 4-week experiment, I'm leaning away from it pretty hard. We'll see how this week goes and how the edit turns out. And then next week, I'm planning on doing like more of an article style part. Basically, in the same way that I did the American Politics is Pro Wrestling, like that, but shorter and as part of the episode. So I think that will be kind of like an interesting way to do that. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Descript so far. I will continue to talk about it for the next couple of episodes, and then like I'm gonna really kind of make a decision where I'm gonna go with it on the last episode. So look forward to a more in-depth article about Descript itself, and then me talking about it at the end. So it's pretty much all I have on that topic. Not really a ton there, other than it's not. Like most things AI, it's not as easy as they think as they make it seem, right? There's a lot more to it. And honestly, I don't know how much, is a time saver in the sense that I was able to do something that I don't normally do in my videos without having to think about it. But like all of the other things that I do with my videos still took just the same amount of time. Like, cutting bumpers into segments and stuff. I gotta take care of this dog. Door's open, so he's whining like crazy. In general, though, just not as impressed as I thought I would be. So, yeah, that's about it for that. So, moving on. 200 versus 250. So, working on a big project at my job for the 250th anniversary of the country, the 150th anniversary of the state, and then the 50th anniversary of where I work. And so these big kind of anniversary things create celebrations, and right now we're kind of going back and looking at, the museum I work at was made in a bicentennial effort, right? Whole big thing. If you're unfamiliar with the Bicentennial, insert terrible cartoon here. Right? If you're unfamiliar with it, right? The concept is straightforward. It's 200th anniversary of the country. But in 1976, when they were celebrating it, the tone of the country was very, very different than it is now, in the sense that people were still very divided, right? We're talking still a lot of leftover bad feelings about Vietnam, about the civil rights movement, about the gay rights movement, which is starting to ramp up, a million different things. People are still in a way divided, but it's not the same way that it is now, right? Where it's just people can't stand being near the other group, which is, interestingly enough, something Davey and I talk about later in the interview, so please look forward to that. But as a consequence, I think there was a lot more excitement, a lot more fervor for the 200th. And also, a half century seems like less of a milestone, right? 200 is a big deal, 300 is a big deal, 250, not as big of a deal. But the reality is, most people will only see one of those 50th anniversary milestones in their lifetime, just because of the way they're spaced out, right? Most people aren't are not going to catch two of them. I'm missing two of them by 2 years, right? I was born in 78 and 76 happened. So like that kind of thing is going to happen a lot. And I'm definitely not making it another 50 years. I hope not. That sounds awful. But so there's those two things are kind of like competing against the past, right? So it's not a full century, and also people aren't like as in general super excited about America as a whole, because it's just chaotic and crazy and everything's kind of weird and terrible. So when you look at like the responses and like the fervor, and not just that, but like the pointed activity of the Bicentennial, there's like a 600-page book with like paragraph-sized descriptions of each different project. The city that I live in, which is, at the time was a city of like 25, 30,000 people, they had like 14 projects. Looking at our 250th anniversary, from what I can tell, we maybe have 5 like in the city right now, and 3 of them are ours, right? So the excitement, the drive isn't there in the same way. And so you get to see like this different, like you get to see really how different our country has become in the last 50 years. And I think the thing that really is telling is it's not cohesive in the same way, because it's not dominated in the same way, right? A big part of the cohesiveness of like the past is that only one voice had like access to like engage the public, right? Only like, yes, other voices were heard, but not in the same way. And I've talked about it a little bit, like that limiting effect of like there's 4 television stations. Your local newspaper is the local newspaper, right? And getting another newspaper from somewhere else, even if it's just like somewhere half an hour or 45 minutes away, is tricky if you don't have like a newsstand or something like that. So like the way we were able to like point our voice in the past, like as a nation, to say, this is what we're doing, this is what it means, this is how we are, this is who we are, is gone completely, right? We don't have the ability to like create cohesive messages anymore, because no matter what you say, I could say the most banal thing, the walls behind me are tan. That's wrong, right? I'm probably wrong on a technical level, right? It's probably not the name of the color. I'm probably wrong on like an opinion level in someone else's view. And my opinion of it is really fairly irrelevant, because no matter what I say, somebody can go into the comments and say something totally different, right? And that kind of creation of like constant discord, constant alienation, constant arguing has made it so that people aren't like invested in celebrating anything, let alone the 250th anniversary of the country. I think it's a real problem, right? It's a real problem that we can't focus on a message across anything, right? It's a real problem that like even when you're looking at something, I love wrestling, I love video games, but if you look at like the messaging of like, take the WWE, the stories, they'll change based on like how people are responding to them. And I know that's true like in the past, but it's not like it is today, because like the instant something is on TV, instantly someone has an opinion about it online. The instant like a song goes live on YouTube, instantly somebody has a comment or something to say about it, right? Like this kind of constant churning of the conversation where there's never a moment to take a breath and like actually think about what any of it means, right? So I've been fascinated by like this difference, right? This separation between the way the Bicentennial was celebrated and the way the semi-sesquicentennial, I think is what it's called, but but like just this difference, right? And so much of it is based in this this thing that I'm slowly starting to realize is like very damaging. And it's the notion that only the individual is important, right? We've stepped into like this super individualistic society where in the past there was still enough of like a cohesive structure to community, like whether that be your church or your school or just your friend group, that people were more tightly knit because they weren't so focused on like the instantaneous gratification of social media. Hold that thought. So in the past, you could have like these conversations, right? And create like dialogues that were interpersonal, as opposed to what's happening now, where the dialogue that's created is insular, right? You don't know the tone. You don't know how somebody is responding to you. You just see the words and you get to infer what they mean to you. Nobody explains it to you. Nobody talks through their idea. It's just a statement that you ingest and take it for whatever you want to take it for. And that removal of like this community moment, this connection of people, this time spent actually having a conversation, because it removes that connection and just focuses on your personal individual thought, you really lose track of what your thought means in relationship to everything else, right? That hyper individualism is a real problem because it leads to like this thought of self-made. I do it myself. I am the one and only. I am great because of what I did, right? And that is always a mistake. Nobody has accomplished anything on their own at all. Like, you live, if you live in the United States, in a place and a time that has allowed you to become the thing that you are, supported by generations of other people's hard work, right? The lights you use to turn on, the roads you used to drive on, the school that you learned in, all of that was put in place by somebody else at some other time in the past that you probably have never had an interaction with, right? So to say, I'm self-made, I made myself, is always a lie, right? Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant because it's always a lie, right? People will say, I did all the work. I created this thing. This is my business, my book, my this, my that, without any moment of reflection to realize that everything you're doing is supported by a panoply of people. So I would love to see us move away from this individualistic, the only thing that will ever matter is me thought. The only way I know how to do that is by doing what I do now, which is to sit down and have conversations, this time for the first time with somebody I don't even know, right? And creating those moments of dialogue where even if we misunderstand each other, we can talk through it. So I just hope that you are encouraged to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our country, because for all of its flaws and for all of its drawbacks and for all of its bullshittery that's happening right now, the reality is it is a grand experiment that has been created and made by an incredibly diverse and creative, intelligent, and hardworking series of people throughout the last 250 years. If you can think of a people type that you hate, they have contributed fundamentally to the goodness of this country. And if you can think of a people group that you adore, they have also contributed greatly to the fundamental greatness of this country. everybody that you love and hate, every idea that you have embraced and pushed away, everything that you despise and everything that brings you joy exists right here, right? It may not be harmonious, it may not always work, but if we stop constantly thinking about me and just me and start thinking more about, oh, we can get this done, yeah, then maybe we have a chance at another 250 or so. I don't know. That's stretching it. 500 years is a long time for our country. So I think, like, just in general. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I hope you really take it to heart. I hope you really think about what it means to be in service to other people and to really celebrate what has made this country survive for 250 years, and that's everybody else, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things, I have done almost nothing, but the combined efforts of everyone has created something pretty unique. And right now, not the best, but definitely has potential. It's a fixer-upper. Yeah. I would say it has good bones, but it didn't, right? Like, it starts off with bad bones, and they just need to be addressed. Like, even like a house, when you think about a house, the foundation can be cracked, but it can be fixed. So, just takes a lot of work. All right, next spot. Yeah, so I guess the last thing, and I really only want to touch really briefly on this before I get into the interview, along with like the, rugged individualism will save us all mentality, is this lack of curiosity. There's like a really big curiosity gap, and I'm glad I had written it down in my notes earlier because Davey and I talked about it a little bit too. But here's an anecdote. I educate children a lot of the time. When I get to the end of a program, I ask, do you have questions? And hands invariably shoot up. And the questions are ridiculous. And that's the best part about them, right? Is because kids don't know. So they don't know if a question is dumb or smart or whatever. They just are interested. They're just curious. And that's how you learn, right? Like, you don't learn by just passively sitting there. You learn by asking. You're curious about X, Y, or Z, so you dig into it. I'm curious about this book, so I read it. I'm curious about this song, so I listen to it. I'm curious about this other person, so I ask them questions, right? That's how we learn. It's how we get better. I had a moment where a bunch of homeschool kids came in, and I don't want to just outright disparage the homeschooling movement, but there are a lot of stereotypes about it that unfortunately ring true a lot of the time, which unfortunately stereotypes have a tendency to do. They're people's observations over time that tend to build up into blanket statements that don't apply to everybody, but apply to enough people that, individuals justify it to themselves. And one of the things that I justify to myself is that largely homeschool students are two things. They are religious, and they are told what to think, not taught what to think, right? In most modern education, you're given something to interact with and asked to respond to it, right? Like, if I think about high school, the university process, you are given something to read, whether it be a chapter in a book or, your assignment or whatever, and you're asked to respond, whether that be, if it's mathematics, through figuring an equation, if it's through art, working on a brief, if it's in literature and reading, it's in writing a response or something like that, right? Just in general, you're responding to something that has been offered to you. The tendency in homeschooling, from the curriculum that I have had the opportunity to interact with, is often, this is what you know now, right? I am handing you this book. This book talks about the creation of the world, and this is what it is. Not, what do you think about this? How do I interact with it? but this is what it is. And I think that makes for a uniquely precarious situation that I have had the unfortunate experience of anecdotally experiencing. So, in the moment when I asked this homeschool group at the end of my thing, who has questions, no hands went up. Because they have been trained that what your teacher tells you is right. Which is great, right? You want your kids to think that the teacher is giving you correct information. But they've never been asked to, they're asked to regurgitate, not respond. You're told this is right, so tell it to me again so that I know you have it memorized. Not, here is this. What does it mean to you? Explain it to me. Help me understand from your perspective what you're seeing. There's a big difference there, right? I think one of the best analogs that just popped into my head is the difference between like reading scripture and like discussing it with somebody and or like doing a Bible study, writing something down, making notes, highlighting in the margins, and memorizing, right? Like it's a feat to like have the entire book of Psalms memorized. But like in that process of memorization, have you engaged with what it says, right? With what it means, with how it makes you feel, with how it makes other people feel. That's curiosity, right? Not only am I interested in what it has to say to me, I'm interested in what it has to say to you. When I read these words, what do they mean to you? How do we engage with it together? How do I engage with it towards you so that you have a better understanding of how I understand it? How do we have that dialogue, that conversation? That's what this whole episode is about, I think, is conversation. If you lose the curiosity and you're just told, 1870, the city was founded. Was it so? That doesn't mean anything unless you know the whole breadth or even like a partial breadth of the story to like engage you today. Because 1870 is a long time ago. But understanding the reasons why people did things isn't that different, right? And it connects us to the past. That curiosity and that conversation is what connects us to each other and is what connects us to like what has created like the world around us. So if we don't teach our kids to ask a billion questions, if we don't teach our, like, one of the main things I love to tell kids is that, hey, I don't have much time left today, but if you have a question, tell your teacher, and your teacher can email it to me, and I will write you too much about it, right? It could be a 1-sentence question, you're getting a 5-paragraph answer, right? Because I want you to be curious. I want you to keep having questions even after I leave, and I want to engage with you, right? God damn it, can't we all get there, right? I mean, I'm not perfect at it. I'm not great all the time, but man, if more of us embraced our curiosity, if more of us asked a million questions about things, maybe we'd be doing a little bit better. That's enough pontificating for me for the day. I think, yeah. I'm not exactly sure how long Davey's interview is. I haven't gotten to that editing. There is a brief moment where both of us get up to try to plug my computer back in. That I will edit out. But everything else will be normal. This will be descripted, just though very much in the same way last week was, and we'll see how that goes. Past that, I'll save that for the conclusion. Enjoy the interview. It's usually if the spray bottle's out, it's not an issue.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I know what's going
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's me, the same person that it always is. So today we're doing another interview with Davey Autobee. I'm kind of excited for this one because this is my first time doing this with just like a stranger. Like I haven't, like I didn't read your book. Like I don't, like I haven't met you before. It's just like complete stranger. So
it's a blind date.
Yeah, it's a blind date. So I think this is like the true test of the format idea of just learning about people from people. So, but yeah. So as always, I just ask you to introduce yourself because you're going to be better at introducing you than, obviously than I am because I don't know you at all.
Yeah, you know nothing about me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, my name is Davey. Everything interests me, and like anything from art to spiritual things. Honestly, I'm always finding a new thing to get really into, and then I just lock in for about 2 years, and then something else comes up, and I'm just always interested in learning new things about people, about art, about music, about whatever it may be. So that's just me. Like I'm a ball of chaos. I got diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, so that probably has plays its part in why I am who I am, the things I've had to deal with and learn about myself, has taken me on a crazy journey of both mental health and spiritual things.
So schizoaffective disorder, that's kind of like a big scary diagnosis. Tell me a little bit about like kind of what that entails, like so that people have an understanding.
Well, schizophrenia, I have auditory hallucinations, so, and nothing like mean, which is good. Really cool. It's like a commentary on, I know it's getting bad when I hear in the morning, I'll hear, "Good morning. Wake up. What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And I'm just kind of like, it's become so familiar to me. It's weird because I don't like that it's become a friend. Okay. You get what I'm saying?
That does make sense, yeah.
But it's also, I don't want it. But you're having this own fight within yourself on it. The affective disorder is bipolar disorder. Okay. So that's schizoaffective would be schizophrenia with a mood disorder. Okay. So that's what
it sounds almost like an imaginary friend gone too far.
And honestly, I was never able to understand what I was going through until I talked to my therapist. And I was talking about my nightmares. Mm-hmm. I had terrible nightmares. And my therapist told me, my psychiatrist told me, "So how's your day when it's leading up to this?" I go, "Well, I know I'm going to have a nightmare when it starts like in the middle of the day." And she stops and she goes, "You realize nightmares only happen when you're sleeping?" And for some reason, I never put that together. And it was just like this moment where it's like, holy shit, I don't dream when I'm awake. And it sounds so simple, but when you live with it your entire life and it's not diagnosed, it's not even recognized, I don't know I'm different than you. Right. You know?
I think there's a lot of people that experience mental health in a very similar way. Like yours may be more extreme than like the average, that somebody sees, but there's a lot of people that go through life with ADHD and don't know. Yeah. And then when they get diagnosed, I know for me, it was like, oh, that's why nothing works right for me, or like depression and things like that. So like in a lot of ways, like while it may seem kind of shocking to other people, like for you, it's probably a very similar thing to a lot of people, just on a more extreme level.
Yeah, it was really comforting to know. It took a long time to get there. I was a guinea pig for many years. You know, I stay at the mental health facility after a breakdown, and then they're trying to treat me for depression, and then when you're taking the wrong drugs for the wrong thing, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that piece of hell.
Yeah.
And then one day it's just like, okay, this works. I've talked enough. I finally opened enough up enough to get that to turn into a real diagnosis to figure out what's going on.
That's good. I mean, it's my ex-sister-in-law has schizophrenia, but all of her voices were like super, super negative.
Oh,
and I remember, you know, there were so many transitions to maybe this medicine will work, maybe this medicine will work. And now I think she's only a couple years older than me, but now she's at a place where like her medicine regimen has made her life stable, right? And so that's good to see. Like, you know, I'm not a big part of that family anymore, but it's when I do see her, it's good to see that she like has a stable mental state. You talked about how kind of that the mental health experiences that you've had and like the way it kind of affects your interest in like spirituality and just like music and media and stuff. Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh man, so that goes deep. We could go in a million different directions.
Go in whichever one you want. It's all you.
So, okay, I'll talk with like the shit that really hit me as a kid. Mm-hmm. Grew up. My mom had her issues. To this day, I really don't know what happened or why, but she ended up getting really involved in the church. Mm-hmm. Well, when I'm like 14 and I'm experiencing some of these pieces of hell that I'm going through, her answer is prayer, mm-hmm. which is a fucking nightmare. Now I have this fear of hell and the devil's after me. And I already have a problem that hasn't been diagnosed. Now this all becomes way too fucking real for me. Mm-hmm. And I start getting angry at all those things around me. I start acting out in what I was viewing then as, you know, just being a typical kid, just causing a little bit of chaos. Escalated to violence and all of these other things. And that's kind of where my journey began. And even that spiritual journey, which I view anything that's spiritual, right, we have to identify that right away because we could be talking about two different things. Mm-hmm. Spiritual to me is anything that's not physical. Okay. So that feeling you get when you're listening to a really good fucking song, that's a spiritual experience to me.
Okay.
That's the simplest terms I could put. So that negativity I was feeling, I would put in the spiritual realm, and really affected the physical of who I was and how I react to people. Very aggressively. Feeling like you live two separate lives in two separate worlds. And honestly, like, I feel like at one point I disappeared from the world where it was so much was going on. It's funny, kind of go on a different tangent. I feel like I identified that moment at an AFI concert.
Okay. Wait, are you from the area?
Yeah.
What year and where was it?
That was...
Or like approximate year. Like, sorry, my friend Brandon has weird year recall that I don't have, so I shouldn't put that on you.
Right. Okay, because they canceled their Sing the Sorrow tour.
Right.
Because of the cyst in Davey's throat.
Yeah.
So it was the tour right before that.
So the Black Sails tour.
Yeah, or it could have been like a weird in-between like show or something like that.
Was it in Fort Collins?
No,
Oh,
it was
okay.
in Denver.
Okay.
It was at the...
Because I saw him like late 90s on Black Sails tour. I was like, oh my God, we may have been at the same concert.
Oh, I'm sure we've been at plenty of the same concerts.
Right.
And-
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Oh, dude,
But
that's fine.
so we don't derail, you had a moment at an AFI concert.
Where everything went black. I cannot remember what had happened
Yeah.
in this huge span of time. But when I talk to my friends, they're like, yeah, dude, that was a bad time for you. Like, I had good people in my corner where they're like, yeah, we're taking care of you. We were making sure you were someplace, somewhere within someone's house, because you would disappear and then we'd find out, oh, Dave's in jail.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Dave's, here or there. And it was a really, really bad time. And then, I'm working through it. I start to meet my wife. I'm trying to, have a normal life, which is impossible. And I'm reading all of these different books, and whether it was, learning something from Anton LaVey to something from Karl Marx. Like, I was just learning all these different things and taking these little bits of pieces from every book I read, from every philosopher I read, from every one of these people, to build my own life. Because I didn't have an identity of my own.
It's interesting because, like, I've found that people that do that, like, so I grew up probably in a very similar fashion to you, like a very religious mom. Like, my dad was he was there, but like, an every other weekend kind of there,
Yeah.
But like, I found myself just reading everything because, like, I wasn't really supervised. Like, I'm sure I think we're about the same age. So, like, I feel like that, like, level of unsupervision is very similar for, like, everybody in our generation. But, like, same thing, I'm reading the Quran, the Satanic Bible, the regular Bible, while also going to, like, Christian middle and high school, but, like, putting as much of everything into myself. And then you spit out the other end, you just have your own version of spirituality. Like, that can be housed inside of an AFI song or housed inside of, like, some type of scripture. Like, they evoke the exact same, for me, like, I don't know, I can't speak for anyone else, but they evoke, the exact same kinds of feelings.
Yeah. So, for me, it was when I found Shelter.
Oh, okay. The Krishna Consciousness hardcore band.
Yeah. When I found Shelter, and they spoke to me.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Just the appreciation of this world, not living in the physical, always, removing that ego from you, everything against materialism. That's when I think I kind of took this turn to being more of a positive person, and like where I'm at now and who I am spiritually is a ball of chaos.
Yeah, I feel that.
but that's the jumping off point for me. That's where I started feeling a little bit better.
Right.
And it was in these songs. It was in Shelter. It was in 108. It was in Rival Schools. It was a lot of, those Krishna Buddhist bands.
Right.
That really did it for me.
You heard it here first, people. Positive hardcore does save lives.
Oh, man.
It's torn up now, but I used to have the shirt that said "Keep Hardcore Negative."
Oh, yeah. Was it a Slapshot shirt? Yeah.
It got destroyed, but I always, more than anything, I always thought the notion was funny because bands like Shelter, 108, stuff like that, like, they really, I mean, even more extreme bands like Vegan Right or like Cattle Decapitation that are like pushing people into like vegan mindsets and things like that, like, they're spreading a lot of like really good things. Like, sure, like,
Visualize Industrial Collapse isn't like a happy song, but like what it's actually saying is pretty good, you know? So it's cool to see like that, you know. I have this weird experience where I was in a Christian punk band for like a lot of years.
Free Cats, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry. But every once in a while, like somebody will come up and talk to me and they'll be like, hey, like you really like positively affected my life. And so I have like this weird like experience where like I really don't like talking about that because like I believe very, very differently. But if I had like a positive effect on someone's life, awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I need to respect that moment for them. So, like, for you, I'm sure, like, it's a very similar situation where, like, you have all these positive and negative experiences that you're kind of, like, going through to create the person you are today. It's really cool.
And what's really cool is, like, if we get into, like, the Bible, right, especially the prophets.
Yeah.
Like, I think the prophets are fucking cool. Because I've always been, like, the artist is the prophet. And that's who, like, Ezekiel is. He's an artist. Like, he was, you know, building, like, he was a performance artist, right? He's laying on the ground eating shit, like, eating over shit.
Right.
To show the people, like, this is you.
To
like,
prove
you created this. Like, this is how disgusting you are. And it's a performance art. And then when he goes up to the kings and he builds a display of their courtyards and destroys it in front of them, telling them, like, you're going to get destroyed. I'm like, that's art, dude. That is so fucking cool.
That's really cool. Like, that's a perspective I definitely have not put in my brain before, and I love that.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what's cool, because then you think about how, like, your reaction towards the Christian church would be. Mm-hmm. You're not doing anything different than the prophets did.
Right.
Of saying, look at what you're going to do. Look how, you know.
Right.
These different bands, or even someone like LaVey, like, you created this and you're gonna get destroyed
by it. Yeah,
kind of like in tune with what the prophets were saying, right?
So there's this really fascinating perspective that I think develops from people that like actually take the time to like read any kind of spiritual anything, right? Like you see it in like Muslims, that there's like, once you've dove in far enough into like scripture, there's like this mystic side to Islam. It exists in Judaism, it exists in Christianity, Buddhism, all of it. Every, like, I mean, like Hinduism, like at its base is that, right? Like that it's this mysticism, right? As opposed to like more of like an internalized philosophy a lot of the time. But like this notion that like the mystic is like an artist, for some reason never connected in my brain. But if you think about like dervishes, you think of prophets, you think of like the, you know, like what Buddha tried to do in Hinduism before he like converted to Buddhism, like, you know, the Agora, like sitting at like the side of like the Ganges, like starving themselves and cutting themselves and like showing this, my body is death. Like that's, like you said, that's just performance art, right? Like, so with that in mind, do you feel that like artists are occupying the same space in our society as like that spiritual leaders should be occupying?
100%.
Okay.
Like, no doubt, there are some artists that are like the court prophets? You know, the court prophets who spoke for the government.
Right.
For the kings, and we're always like gung-ho.
Everything's good.
It would kind of be like the MAGA supporter, the MAGA artist. Now it's like that's what they are. They're not on the spiritual. I
just saw that goofy guy with the grills and the weird beard,
right?
that raps.
You're like you're on their side.
Yeah.
But you know, a band like Zayo or a band. You know, I don't like him at all. But even like Marilyn Manson was a very, you know, he was a prophet character where he's kind of, at what he was doing in the 90s, really spoke to people of like, this is what your country is created. This is what your religion has created. And I'm going to stomp it out. Now, as far as the guy being a decent human being, he's a piece of shit, and that's all I'll say.
My wife was telling me that Ari Shaffir in his new stand-up has a bit where he talks about, you guys are following Kanye in the wrong spot. You're following him on Twitter, and so you think he's awful. I only follow him on Spotify where he's still making bangers. And I think there are these like disconnects that we have a lot of the time where there's people that intuit and create something outside of like their own decency, right? Like there's been plenty of amazing artists that are also like total scumbags.
Well, and I think that's where the idolatry comes in.
Right.
Where we don't idolize people. So... yeah, when someone creates something, you pull the emotion, the experience you need out of it. But once you start idolizing the person who made it, that's where the downfall is. That's where we're going to start seeing, then you start emulating this person. Because as soon as we idolize someone, I'm consciously saying, I'm less than that person. Right? Like... he's better than me. This is what I want to be. Then you find out that person's a piece of shit.
Right.
And it all falls apart. So, you have the, separate the art from the artist. That has its own problems too. But I think you just need to go into everything and just take it in and don't focus on the person making it.
How do you think people's accessibility to like personality, right? Like, we think about like parasocial relationships. Like I just commented on my favorite YouTuber's YouTube to like day before yesterday because they're celebrating their 10th anniversary and they put out like the 10 greatest Wrestle Talk moments. And I commented, thank you for 10 years of a parasocial relationship that I love, right? We have these like weird mental hangups where it's very difficult for us to like remove ourselves from that kind of like idolatry that, which is like a really powerful way to say it, right? Like we think of it in very religious terms, but socially we say that all the time. Like they're a pop icon or an idol, those kinds of things. But like, how do you think like our current like kind of media situation where like I can access my favorite band, what they're doing this like today, right now, like, and see, how do you think that like kind of affects all this?
I feel like everyone's playing a character now. Like everyone online is a character. Like example, the whole they found out who Banksy is. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen all that now. And it's the same guy they've said it was in 2008.
For like almost 20 years. Yeah.
But
who rapidly changed his name as soon as he was found out the first time.
But what's funny about it is, as soon as I hear Banksy has a name, I'm like, that's bullshit. This is another art project. Mm-hmm. This is something he's doing because I don't believe that's a person. Right. So and what's cool is he is so far in the background that you really don't know anything about him, which I love. If he had a social media account, I would fucking hate the guy. I know I would. Like, Shepard Fairey's another artist that I love. I'm not going to look up his stuff, because to me, he's not someone I would get along with.
Right.
Or John Joseph from the Cro-Mags is another person that, man, I love the Cro-Mags. I love everything this guy does. And then I log on and I see his posts, and he's very genuine in who he is. I'm not saying he's a bad person, but this is not the type of person I want to hang out with.
Right. You're okay listening to his music.
Totally okay.
You just don't want to spend time.
I don't want to listen to him or hear him talk or anything like that. And a lot of the stuff he says I agree with. It's just a presentation of who he is that I'm like, I don't need that. But how much of that is really him and how much of it is a character he's playing online, And that's where I'm like, all these people, no matter who they are, they're all playing a character. Because look at how brave a person is online compared to who they really are. You know, you're like, you're just playing this character. And I don't like that character. I would rather sit down and have a conversation with you and hang out and get to know you as a person. Because that's when we start to break down these stereotypes. We start to break down all these things in a one-on-one conversation. You're never going to get that
online. Yeah, and that's a big part of why I like doing this, because that's how I learn things more than anything. I think we've stumbled into like this really interesting idea, right? So like in the past, you have this moment, like whether it be the prophets or a musician, where like that's a very singular like endeavor, right? There weren't a buttload of prophets. Like even like 30, 40 years ago, there weren't like a buttload of bands, right? There were, but like not the way it is now,
right?
Where like anybody that has a computer can make a demo, right? Like I remember the first demo we made was like an ordeal that involved cassette tapes, you know, like it was a situation, but like
a lot of frustration and anger.
So now we have this opportunity where like literally anybody can have a voice. Literally anybody can be the prophet, right? And I think it like really has watered down our ability to like see big messages, right? Because in a lot of ways, like what a prophet did, or what like a band like an AFI or like a Cro-Mags did, is they encapsulated this one idea for a very specific audience who is then able to engage with that idea like ad nauseum, right? With very little others. You know, I'm playing a new game right now. The game's been out for 3 days. Reviews are fully split. Half people hate it, half people love it. Everybody's arguing online. So nobody's saying anything, right? Like it's just a wash.
Yeah,
you know, it's a 50%, you know. As opposed to 30 years ago, I play that game. If I fall in love with it, I'm not posting about it. I just am in love with it, and then telling all my friends how much I like it. And maybe they experience it differently, and we have that conversation. But like, it's not a wash, right? We actually have the conversation. Like, do you think that that's kind of what's happening? That like messages are
right. There's no productive conversations anymore.
Okay.
They're not productive. They're arguments.
Yeah.
They're debates. It's whether or not I could win a debate. That's not saying you're right. If you win a debate, you're not right.
It just means you won.
You just won. You had, you guided the conversation better than the other person.
I mean, it's just like a fight. Like if you win the fight, it doesn't mean you were correct. It just means you're better.
You're better
at punching. You know,
right.
Like
that's why there's classes that they're teaching in school, and they give two people opposite ends of a debate. And they're not saying anyone's right. They're just saying,
when I was in debate, the assignment was both sides. You had to argue both sides.
Yeah. And whoever, worked it out. So no one's right. When you win a debate, you're not right. Yeah. You're just good at what you do.
I think that's one of the things that I fundamentally have had a problem with. Like there's a YouTube called like Jubilee, where it's like one conservative sits among 20 liberals. And like every video, no matter what side it is couched as single conservative destroys 20 liberals, or single liberal destroys 20 conservatives, or, communist owns socialists, or, and it's always just about the fight, not about the answers.
Yeah, about sitting down and just being like, no one even establishes what they're talking about.
Right.
Like the whole God conversation, there's people like, oh, yeah, bullshit. It's like, well, you're talking about a guy in the sky with hands.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the same thing. Yes, the God you're talking about, complete bullshit. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, there's not a white dude in the sky with a beard.
Yeah.
When my youngest is on the autism spectrum. So God was like a weird concept for them.
Oh, yeah.
So we basically explained, for some people, he's a lot like Santa, where you ask him for stuff, he gives it to you. For some people, he's a lot like Batman. When you ask for help, he comes and saves you.
Yeah.
And for some people, he's up in space. And so Cody thought of him as Space Santa Batman.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's cool.
That's way cooler than regular God, right?
And honestly, if Space Santa Batman brings him any form of joy, that's cool.
Right.
Right? If Space Santa Batman scares the piss out of him, all right, let's get rid of Space Batman Santa. You know, and it's, a weird thing that no one even, we're arguing things that we can't even establish who is who.
It's okay.
Oh, battery time?
It just...
Oh, dude, I have one of those.
Oh, so I really appreciate that you defined what you think of as spirituality, right? And that you are interested in like defining for conversation what a word means to you or doesn't mean to you. Like that kind of precise language I think is really missing a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend David and I and our friend Brandon ran a small t-shirt company for a short time, which
I remember that. Yeah.
I absolutely loved doing, but ended up not, being able to work out because life is crazy sometimes. But one of the things I tried to really actively do was engage people on our Facebook page. And I would do that a lot, where I would engage in, hey, when I say this, I mean this. That does not work online. People just want to argue with you. No, it doesn't mean that. I'm like, I'm not saying it doesn't mean that for you. I'm saying in this context, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to convey those ideas online.
Yeah. Because everyone already has a preconceived idea. Like, to me, right, what are words? Like the word God, for example. What the fuck does that mean?
Right.
Right? Like, no... That's not what the word is in any culture, except it's a Greek word originally.
I think so.
And then we just kind of built off of it there.
Yeah, it just represented like these deified spiritual ideas,
or you even like, we're creating our own gods, as in like even the vehicle I drive is the god of transportation. Right. Like, that's what gets me in places. And I think that's kind of the loss, where, like, God could mean many things, but we're all trying to attribute it to this one unknown thing. What the fuck are we talking about? Right?
Right.
Like, okay, we're talking about the unknown, but we're giving a name. Like, to me, like spirituality is like, yeah, we all call it these different things, or it's spiritual, or the spirit within, or the great spirit, or fucking string theory.
Yeah, right.
Right?
or from the very opposite perspective, vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we're all talking about the same thing, but we're just upset someone else called it a different thing.
Yeah.
We're upset that someone called it Allah. Like, what, because that's the culture that they live within, and that's the word they've chosen.
Right.
The scientist has the word string theory because that's the culture he lives in. That's the word but we're kind of talking about the same thing. We're just using these different lenses and different ways of being and conversations with different people about chasing the unknown.
I think a really interesting question in my mind, specifically for you, is how do you define like God? What is God in your mind?
Because, all right, I need to start this off with I am not right.
Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
That's not right.
That is my favorite position to be in.
Yeah.
This is my opinion.
And honestly, it's my opinion because I think it's super fucking cool.
Right. I mean, that should be the basis of all our opinions.
Right.
Is this is cool.
and it teaches me to love the things around me. I live within God. The universe, I live within God. Like a cell lives within me, or a child is within its mother. I live within God. Everything around me is within God. That's why, there's the scriptures that say, when you do unto others, just know you've done it to me, right? So then if I'm viewing you as the same as me, as connected through this one thing, all I'm doing is showing the love to you that I want for myself. Because in the end, we're all connected. We're all one. The animals, the earth, everything, I want to care for those things. I have a deep value to them. That's the first commandment within the Torah. Right? To tend to the land and the animals. Huh. That's what it's all about. So for me, I live within God. And then you have to struggle with the concept of how big we really are. A cell lives within me. Right? I'm the God to that cell. And now there's living cells and there's viruses. I could choose to be a virus, or I could choose to be a living thing. I could suck the life out of this earth that we're on, like the kings, right? Yeah. And they're bombing places and destroying this earth, and they're a virus to this earth. I could be that white blood cell that is restoring God, that is restoring this universe, whatever it may be. Because for all we know, we're living inside of a being that looks like us.
That's cool. I think one of the things that fundamentally pushed me away from Christianity was I had stumbled into a lot of the Gnostic Gospels. And in the Gospel of Thomas, there's this very specific passage where first it talks about God in a female fashion, which was fucking mind-blowing to me at the time. Right. But it also talks about how the kingdom of God is inside of you and all around you. It's not in a place. And there's a lot of in my brain, what I would think of as shoot Bible, the Bible that you buy off the shelf that says kind of the same thing, right? That says, the kingdom of God is this. It's not, going to church is a thing. Jesus says 2 or 3 gathered in my name.
Connection.
Judaism has these ideas of family, blessing to the earth and connection with your people, and your people is the people, Islam has a very important rules about, charity and about being open and accepting to people that come in. That component is in every religion, right? And so I end up in a place where my spirituality, while I don't attribute anything to any kind of deified idea, is that I'm here to serve, right? Clearly I'm meant to help other things, and then when I need help, hopefully something's there to help me. We're not going to survive this world, but hopefully with our friends we can make it.
Yeah.
So I love that. While we're both wrong, we both came to really similar conclusions from really different places.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about about God and how you interact with the people around you, what really, I guess not so much what motivates you, because what motivates you seems really clear, is that you want to be the positive instead of the negative, which is great. But what are the kind of things that really flip the switch, right? You see X and it makes you go, I gotta fix that.
I
or
have
help that, maybe not fix.
Right. I have a heart for. I just have a heart for people, and a lot of homeless people, things like that, where I'm just like, they didn't choose this. Like, there's so many circumstances that I'm completely unaware of. I'm not going to judge this person for anything they've done. I don't care if this person is out there tonight stealing, robbing, doing whatever they got to do to live tomorrow. I want to be a positive influence on that person, and I want to help them with whatever they can. And I want to just see human in that person, in right what everyone's kind of pushed aside. Hey, don't look at them while you walk by.
Right.
Just going to ask you for something.
You might have to interact. Yeah.
Or, and it's simply like, one of my favorite bands of all time is Arrested Development. Mr. Wendell, right? Mm-hmm. The homeless dude that he was like, hey, I would get this guy food, and he would give me wisdom. Mr. Wendell, he had wisdom. And there's so many of these people out on the street that are full of wisdom and can teach us all these things that I just want to sit down and have a conversation. I'm going to learn more from the guy who's broken than the successful guy.
Right.
Right? We don't learn anything from ever doing things right. Every lesson I've ever learned has broken me.
Been from mistakes.
Yeah. And so I have this heart for them. Working with, do you know 808 Street Gallery?
I do not know.
We're trying to do more to get the word out there, but working with homeless artists or artists with addiction issues to show that they have value through their art. So the person we're working with, she'll sell their art, and that's how. That's cool. It's a really, really cool concept.
There's a book, I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the author, but it's old. I want to say it's from like the late 1800s, where it was a guy that, a doctor that worked at a mental institution, and he collected the art of like the patients that were at his institution, and he wrote or released a book called The Art of the Mentally Ill. And it's really credited with creating the outsider art movement, because like those kind of people that are experiencing like a very different life, they have a very different artistic perspective, but they're also like untrained, and so what they come to is very different than what an art student comes to, because they've been trained on how to do the thing.
And that's where we get these amazing things like the Shags, or Wesley Willis, or even Daniel Johnson. Johnson. You get all these really cool, like inspiring things where all of a sudden this art form that is so right, and no one understands it. No one can really grasp what they're doing, but all of a sudden it becomes this inspiration and spreads like wildfire.
Right.
It's like the Ramones. The Ramones are one of the most influential bands ever. Not because they were good, but because people said, I could do that.
Right.
Right? No one listened to a Boston album and was like, I could do this.
Well, some people did,
and
they're crazy.
And it's, but then there's like a whole bunch of musicians that were amazing that heard the Ramones first, and were like, now we get
permission.
Yeah, now we get some of the craziest music we've ever gotten because of that seed. Because of that seed of a Wesley Willis that taught me, why am I not hooking up my keyboard and just seeing what happens?
Yeah. I think that seed notion is like probably really fundamental, right? Like one of the things that like outsider art or like fringe music, fringe movies, they always like push the envelope into like the new whatever is cool. Like a crazy movie, like my favorite kind of track for this right now is the movie Dogtooth, which is like a Greek weird wave movie, is directed by the same person that did Begonia, or like The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Okay. So like these movies are like Oscar nominated, all sorts of stuff. His first movie, like in Greek, 4 non-actors for the cast, completely outside of like Greek cinema and American cinema. Absolutely bonkers plot where it's like a brother and a sister who are like being held in their home and told that like they can't leave because everything is dangerous by their parents. And so like, I mean, the movie goes places you don't want it to go throughout the entire movie, but like, but the impetus of the movie is that they've been told that until they lose their dog teeth, which are teeth that don't fall out, that they can't leave the house. And so at the end, the girl pulls her teeth. See, I'm an adult now. I can leave, you know, because she just wants that escape. And like, it's this really like tense, powerful movie. And the movies he makes now are just as weird, just as tense, just as powerful, but like they're recognized because he pushed the envelope into it becoming like artistic film, when really it was just batshit crazy and had to be made because Greece's economy was collapsing, so they made everything for $20. You know,
and what's crazy is like I'm gonna sound extremely pretentious.
That's okay, I don't mind.
But when you watch something like that and you realize it's not just entertainment purposes, there's a few of us out there. It seems like that it's dwindling away that understand art, that understand the message, that try to dig deeper into these things and like pull out something meaningful. Right? So to someone, you know, watching a movie like that, it's just like, that's disturbing. Hey, you want to see something cool? And then there's some people that are like, you want to sit down with something that's going to fuck your world up?
Yeah, I'm definitely the second person. You know, I think it kind of goes back to like this like social media moment, is that people don't want to have conversations because it's just an argument.
Yeah.
Right. I remember like, and I still do it a lot of the times with my friends. We'll go to the movies, and then when we get done, we don't get in our cars. We're just standing outside talking about the movie for like 25, 30 minutes. For some reason, that always happens when it's like 20 degrees out. Like, you know, like, why don't we just go somewhere? This sucks ass. But I think the other thing is this is something that's like kind of a personal, like big hang up. There's a noted lack of like curiosity in people. Like people don't want to like dig deeper. Like everything is 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. So like my wife and I are sitting down watching Lord of the Rings because she's never seen it before. They've never seen it before. So we watched like 6 hours of it, and like Mel kind of, well, we've only been here for like 4.5, 5 hours. I was like, no, like we're halfway through. We've watched approximately 6 hours. But because they were enjoying it, like it didn't matter anymore. But like the dauntingness of like, I'm going to watch this 12-hour movie, you don't want to, because you're so used to scroll up, scroll up, you know? So I find myself doing it, right? Where I don't want to sit and watch a 2-hour movie. Like, I'll just watch Taskmaster for the billionth time. Such a great
Season
show.
19. Oh.
I haven't gotten there yet. We're on 17 right now.
Oh, are you?
Or no, 18. We just finished 17.
Jason Mantzoukas is in it. That's why I'm like,
yeah, he's like one of my favorite comedic actors ever. Like, I love Sam Campbell, discovered because of Taskmaster. Also, that kind of chaos agent of comedy. One of my favorite things ever.
Off subject, did you ever watch Chris Gethard's show?
No, I did not.
Okay, get into that.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
But that's the thing of like all of the scrolling and stuff like that it's not doing anything different than drugs are doing. They're keeping you from being introspective. They're keeping you from the self-care. They're keeping you from, you know, all the things you need. But when you do sit down with art and you read it or you look at it or you take it in as a huge concept, you have an understanding towards it, you might learn more about yourself. And I think those people that are mindlessly just looking at their favorite influencer, you're not looking at yourself. You're avoiding, if anything.
Like you're literally putting your intention out instead of in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I sit down, like Darren Aronofsky is one of my guys.
Nice.
And when I sit with one of his movies, when a new one comes out, I'm just like, don't bother me.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna get into this, and then I will sit with that because that is an art.
Yeah.
What that man does, at least to me.
There's probably a dozen directors, that are swirling around in my brain that have that. Like Eggers, the guy that did The Witch and Nosferatu. I love his movies. Denis Villeneuve, but Dune and Blade Runner are majestic, but also his other movies are like incredible. Yeah. Like those kind of introspective, like one of my favorite experiences that I ever had with my kid, we went to see The Green Knight, which is like a movie that most people are like not super familiar with. It was kind of like an A24 that flew under the radar. But like in the long run, the movie is the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, but it's also a massive allegory for like the 7 deadly sins. And so like I was able to like kind of express that to my son and watch it turn on in his head. And now he's like, he has other theories about the movie. He watches like crazy, weird art movies now and immediately like calls or texts because he wants to talk about it. I was like, oh, okay. Like this can happen. Like we can foster this in people that are still trapped on Facebook and whatnot. Right. So I cannot wait for the collapse of our internet infrastructure. I think it'll make life better.
It's gonna be great.
I'm
waiting for the collapse of a lot of things, and I'm happy that I like when you see how like hateful people are online. I'm like, I'm so glad I surround myself with so many good people.
Yeah,
because I don't bring it into my world. Like, I'm just like, holy shit, people are really fucking thinking that way?
Yeah, I mean,
that's fucked up.
It's why I can't do social media.
Yeah. And then I'm like, but everyone I'm around, and then, you get that. Yeah, but you surround yourself with good people. Like, you put out that's all we want, is just that goodness, and we've actively rejected the piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's
interesting, because, like, I have these conversations with people, and I think, you had mentioned, I hate to sound pretentious, and I feel like I sound like that all the fucking time, right? But, like, I think the reality is, like, it's not a pretension. Like, I don't care if you're smart or not. I just need you to be willing to engage past, like, right? I did a podcast for, like, a decade, and the guy I did it with, bless his heart, thinks a movie is good if it's financially successful.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. And like that kind of like surface attention, like that's like Taylor Swift is the best because she makes the most money. Chappell Roan is fantastic because she's rich, and like, you're talking about too, like the kings, the people that are successful that have never stumbled. Like we're watching what somebody that has never had to make a mistake looks like in power, because for every mistake the president has made, it's been glossed over, it's been covered up, it's been rolled through, and he's never had to take any kind of responsibility for it, and that creates a monster, right? Yeah. Like, without some kind of, like, internalizing, without some kind of introspection, you turn into a monster, right? So I guess, to kind of, like, come to a bit of a conclusion, like, as we're talking, because I feel like I could sit here for about 6 hours with you. To come to like a conclusion, like what in your opinion can help drive people to thinking deeper about themselves? Like, obviously I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. How do you lead the horse to the water?
Building connection. Sitting down with people who are vastly different than you. And letting them come in with their preconceived ideas and you knowing who I am, the way I dress, whether that's this punk rock kid or me being looking at me and being like, I wonder if that guy's Jewish. Or, any of these preconceived ideas that they come to, and destroying that stereotype.
Right.
And then you get to have that real conversation. Then you get to make that person think a little bit differently about those people. And, how many times have you seen it? I'm sure you have. Where you're talking with someone who is a piece of shit, and they're like, oh, that dude, he's pretty cool for being black. Or, that dude's pretty cool for being a fucking queer.
Right.
You're like, yeah, almost everyone's a human, and they're cool, and they just want to build connection. You just haven't been around enough of them.
Right.
And that's my job. That's
help.
really all I can do. Because I could go out there and be loud, right? But now I'm just reinforcing a stereotype. Now when they pass by me, and I'm, fuck you, you Nazi piece of shit, all I'm doing is reinforcing a stereotype.
Right.
But if I could pull myself together and have a conversation, and not a debate, not an argument, to say, how are you today? And not everything you believe is wrong. I think we can build on that. Now, how do we get into those places where we're rejected? That's the hard part.
It's crazy to me to hear somebody have that perspective right now, right? Like, I think I've felt that way for a very long time. I don't do a very good job of it. I am a nearly 50-year-old man who has been filled with anger from birth to now. There's a line in Blood In, Blood Out, maybe one of the greatest gangster movies ever made, where he says we were born chased by hounds. We were born chased by dogs. And that's resonated with me since I was 12. But this notion of going in to talk with people for them, not for you, is been such a huge challenge for me because I love being right. I am such a prick about that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Ask my truly long-suffering wife and my poor kids, But yeah, I want to be that, right? And it's so crazy because I'm at this point in my life, and if it sounds like you are too, where you've let go of a lot of the old baggage from other stuff.
Yeah.
And you've said, that didn't serve me. Holy crap, how can I help other people feel like this? Right? And I think that's been such a big motivator for me in my life, is to be able to say, look, walking away from all the bullshit really, really helped.
Yeah.
You can do it too, and you don't even have to stop being a Christian, because everything that's in your Bible is good.
Yeah.
Not everything. There's a lot of terrible stuff, but
right.
But the notions of service and kindness, everything that's in the Quran, again, not everything, but
right.
The basis of it is serve your community, be kind. David's told me, and you mentioned it, and I probably should have said it earlier, but you're Jewish, right?
Yeah,
and so those books, those Old Testament books, and even the I don't remember what they're called, but they have a whole body of arguments that rabbis had with each other. The Talmud. What a fucking incredible concept.
Yeah.
We're going to write down our debate.
Yeah.
And the answer is,
it's an argument for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
What it is. And it's just, when two or three are gathered, God's there, and that's where we start to build these ideas. And
We don't even have to be on the same team.
and it's even more fun when we're not on the same team.
Right.
Because how shitty is it when you just fucking agree with someone?
Oh, no, this has been pretty good.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
man, you're right.
No, the conversation is great, right? Like,
Yeah.
because this is something I've struggled with a lot, like, since really, and like, I think there's a problem that I very specifically have that I think is a problem based in the 90s. I don't just listen to metal or punk. Right. I listen to, like, doom metal or, like, post-punk avant-garde noise. You know, like, I love, like, this is this specific thing. Like, I love labeling things. And as a consequence, I think I felt really compelled to, like, relabel myself. Like, when I, deconstructed, which is, like, a stupid word I hate now. Like, I understand it, but, like, but, when I decided, I don't really believe in, like, dude with hands. Right. I felt compelled. I'm an atheist. I follow, like, the satanic temples, like, traditions. I felt this need to, like, label myself. But, like, there's something really freeing in, like, this idea that, like, really I'm just talking about spirituality. Like you said, I'm talking about God, but I'm not talking about, like, dude with hands. I'm talking about the universe. When there's this really interesting book that I probably have mentioned too many times on this already, that's about the founding of our country, called Nature's God. And it's very much about how, like, Spinoza and, like, some of the early Spanish atheist philosophers inspired the Enlightenment, which inspired democracy. And then, you add to that David Graeber's, retelling of history, and you realize that, like, the combination of white people encountering, like, the Iroquois nation plus Spinoza's atheism equals, republic democracy. Like, it's these ideas that, like, as soon as we remove labels and just dive into ideas, we can find, like, really cool common grounds where we really all agree on most everything. Like, you're gonna be hard pressed to find somebody that's like, kid rape's cool. Right. From MAGA to Marxist, like, nobody likes that. Right. So we're in a place where we're, like, faux divided. Right, where we're divided on, like, these dumb ideas that hardly matter at all. Like, I just appreciate that, like, encouragement. Like, let's talk to people that we don't agree with, because we probably do. Yeah.
Oh man, the other day I got into a tangent. I don't know how much time you want.
I can talk however long I want. This is my goddamn shit. Sorry.
But I was talking to one of my buddies, and we were talking about the simulation theory. We're all in a simulation. And to me...
one of my favorite theories.
Right. It starts making more and more sense. And I'm like, well, we're all fed this algorithm. And then I'm thinking about the algorithm I was fed. Have you ever done this thought experiment? The algorithm you were fed pre-internet. By your schools, by your institutions, by things like that. Yeah. Because I was telling him, like, when I was a kid and I was going to school, I remember my teacher still had the map that said USSR, and she had to scratch it out and put Russia in there. And at that point, when I'm learning about all these other countries, I was under the impression America's the only country that is like this, where I'm free to purchase what I want, where I'm free to do the art I want. Everything else is third world to me.
Yeah.
That was the algorithm I was fed.
Right.
And if we think about simulation theory, right? When you're playing a game, the rendering of it in the 90s was much smaller.
Right. And
now it's expanding. So the simulation we're in is just expanded. That shit didn't exist.
Right.
Right? When we were kids, it didn't exist.
It did, but it was way deep. Like, you would have to be reading, like, journals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I was not doing as a teenager.
Right. So, we just rendered a whole new world. And I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
We're basically like the real Engine 5 as opposed to Unreal Engine.
Yeah. Like, we're just like, oh shit, I got upgraded.
Oh, man.
And now I could connect to this, and my world is so much bigger.
It's funny because, like, it's funny how easily you can push that analogy, like, out into how computers develop now, how we developed in the past, like, you know, thinking about the upgrades in technology from like written language to the printing press to digitization. Like, I mean, that's all it is. It's like, it's just upscaling, right?
Right.
And at first it's really expensive, but then it gets cheaper as there's more of it. That works really well. That's a really good metaphor.
Cool when you're like, when you think about like heading to Loveland when we were kids,
it's like a
like after
street.
47th, it was just like
Nothing.
Dead.
Yeah.
Right? But now we've been able to render a little bit more information, and it's been popping up, and you're like, oh fuck.
It's literally doing the okay,
Yeah.
I exist now.
It's so weird.
That is really weird.
And that's the thing. It's like, is it true? Probably not. But is it cool to think about? Hell
yeah. You know, I think that is a pretty natural stopping point that we are currently re-rendering. Man, David, this has been a pleasure, man.
Awesome. It was wonderful to meet you.
This is my lovely spouse.
Wonderful to meet your lovely spouse.
Yes, I'm Mel.
Their name is
I'm
Mel,
David.
and they're cooler than me.
No, not.
It's true.
Hell.
But just to wrap up, thank you so much. I ask people in case they do. I don't ever know if anybody does, but do you have like a project or anything that you're working towards, or like something you want to shout out?
I need to get better at putting out my projects.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if everyone who does check it out checks out 808 Street Gallery, see what the homeless and people suffering from addiction, the art they're doing. There's a website. If you just look up 808 Street Gallery Greeley,
Nice.
You'll find it, and you'll see some of their artwork there. You can purchase it. I have an album I want to put out, and it's really avant-garde, fucking nuts.
Well, share it with me because that's
I
my
will
jam.
shoot you some stuff.
Weird is my specialty.
So my goal is, and this is between everyone, and if I put it out there, I'm more.
I'm
into
the
it.
same way, yeah.
I want to rent out the Crest Theater
Oh, okay.
and do like a avant-garde French film, 1940s, and I wrote my own score for it.
Oh, I love that.
And so I scored it, and I want to play it and see what people think. And
I want to watch it now.
Yeah, and not tell people I did it, and just see what the reactions are.
I love that,
Because
man.
even when people are like, "That was fucking awful," I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
No, I'm the
I
same
like
way.
that uncomfortable. Yeah.
I love when people tell me I'm bad at things. It's my favorite.
Yep, that's what I was going for.
Well-
I didn't make it for you. I made it for me.
Right? That's what this is. So if you don't like it, tough shit.
Tough shit. Get over it, man.
I mean, like you specifically, if you don't like this interview, tough shit. Like it's going up. It's been a pleasure, man.
Dude,
I'm gonna have to come back and have talk about maybe like just Judaism specifically or something like that.
Yeah,
That'd be
we'll make
really
a list
fun.
and we'll do our own little
Let's do
series.
a few. I'd love it.
Best blind date I've ever been on.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I really did. Like, Davey and I plan on getting back together sometime in the future to specifically talk about Judaism, because that was something that came up before I interviewed him, but didn't happen during the interview. And that's exactly how I want that to go. I want the person I'm talking to talk about what they want to talk about. And I think we did that. I hope we did that. And it was an awesome conversation. Secondly, if you have a project that you're working on, I'd love to talk to you. That's not necessary, though. If you just have something you want to talk about, a deeply held belief, a book that you loved, a movie that you're super interested in, a band that you just want to crow about, tell me. I'd love to engage with it. I'd love to engage with you. Let's have these conversations, you know. Sure, I believe a very specific set of things in a very specific way with very specific politics and religious beliefs, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot beyond that's how I believe. And I'm more than willing to have the conversation with you and listen to you. So, yeah, please reach out. I'd love to have more people on. Talking with strangers is great. So, finally, I don't know if it's going to make it into this episode, but David has been talking about sending me like kind of a piece that he worked on about the medicine wheel and mental health and things like that. If that's in this episode, great. If it's not, great. But I do want to point out that, like a zine, if you have something that you want to share that you just think is interesting, I would love to, you know, I would love to have that conversation with you. Maybe it's something that makes its way on here by itself, or maybe it's something that we sit down and talk about, right? Either way, it's cool. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me today, for this week. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Can't wait to hear from some of you guys. Feel free to, obviously all the wrapping up things. As a disclaimer, I make mistakes. When I fuck up, please tell me. Like, you can have a different opinion. That's fine. We have different opinions. But if I make a factual error, please correct me. Like, I need that. Secondly, thank you very much to David Autobee for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And I guess past that, not really that interesting of a guy. I'm just interested in interesting things. And if I hated you, you would know.